name is Brendan, and over the past year, the Delight Cafe team and I have traveled across the U.S. researching this rapidly growing industry of CBD products. What we have found throughout the industry were products that were inconsistent in dosage and used ingredients that weren't even lab tested. Products with chalky textures, bitter aftertaste, and worst of all, confusion among the CBD consumers. That's why we created Delight Cafe. A 15 milligram lab-tested, all-natural, water-soluble hemp CBD powder pack. It's odorless, colorless, and tasteless. Add it to your favorite drink of choice, wherever, whenever, on the go. Quickly find your calm, your balance, and your delight when you need it most.
Hi, this is Brett Gordon of Businesses Are People Too.
And my name is Brandon Croucher of Delight Cafe.
And this is One Square at a Time, where we take kind of a king's approach on a chessboard of being able to move in life and leadership one square at a time, sometimes forward, sometimes back, sometimes to the side.
Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button, guys, and ring that bell.
This is Brett Gordon coming to you from the West Yellowstone McDonald's parking lot for this session of One Square at a Time. I am actually driving across country. We were just in Yellowstone trying to find internet connectivity is not easy, so decided to try to drive around West Yellowstone until I could find a signal, and the best I could do right now is the McDonald's parking lot. So here I am. Did not want to miss this opportunity to really talk with everybody about the Moana movie and the message that came out of Moana, and as a result, doing everything that I can to make this happen. And I know Brandon was going to be trying to call in or tune in as well, but he's on the road and probably will be joining a little bit late. So hopefully everybody can hear me. If you're having any trouble hearing me, please let me know. I am working off of, like I said, a pretty interesting connection right now, and hopefully it'll hold up and I'll have enough battery power to make it through the show. So anyhow, hopefully everybody's having a phenomenal day. As I mentioned, this has been really an opportunity for me to see a part of the country I haven't seen before. And just like Moana, who was trying to determine, hey, Brian, how you doing? Can you hear me all right? If you can, please put a comment in. If you're having any challenges, I'll switch mics. So Moana had to get out of her comfort zone. All right, thanks, Brian. I appreciate it. Moana had to get out of her comfort zone, just like I was getting out of my comfort zone in order to. I drove from Las Vegas to Rapid City, South Dakota, where I attended a libertarian conference. And from there, I started a trek back home. I said, why not catch up with Bob Seymour, who was in the vicinity. And Bob and I got a chance to connect up earlier, actually the beginning of this week on Sunday. And then from there, drove to Yellowstone and spent a day in Yellowstone, then a day checking out the Buffalo Bill Museum, and now back into Yellowstone, and now in West Yellowstone town where I'm broadcasting from. But like I said, Moana was doing kind of the same thing. She wanted to find out what was beyond the coral reef. Oh, awesome, Brian! I'm looking forward to that, and we'll definitely talk about that in the near future. Brian was saying there's probably somebody else that I might be able to have as a guest on this show, and that would be phenomenal. Anyhow, so Moana, she starts off as a little baby, very curious, just like all children are. And as she's growing up, her father starts telling her, don't go out beyond the coral reef. If you're going to go out in a boat, don't go beyond the coral reef. Why? Because he was trying to protect her. He was trying to keep her safe. In fact, he kept the entire tribe that he was the king of as away from going beyond the coral reef, and it was all to protect his people, but nobody really knew why. And Moana kept questioning that, and her grandmother finally is the one who started to introduce her to the idea of actually going beyond the coral reef and finding out what's out there. And Moana had this now in her mind that that's what she was going to do. She was going to see what she could find outside of the coral reef. But when she initially tried to do it, it kind of scared her and she came back. This is something that we experience in life oftentimes. We grow up with a tremendous curiosity. We're born with a curiosity. And that curiosity is oftentimes stopped or slowed down by the people around us as they're trying to protect us, as we're growing up and they're trying to keep us from maybe experiencing some of the challenges or traumatic experiences that they've. And as a result, they tell us these things like, don't cross the street, especially when we're little kids. Don't cross the street because when you cross the street, there's danger over there, and you stay on your own city block. Or you, are told not to go to this part of town or this country or something, all because people are either experienced something or heard of something that make it feel like it's dangerous. Or even worse than that is sometimes people don't want you to find out what's out there because it will take control that they may have of you away as you learn more information about what the real world is like rather than the world that you've been living in and the one that's been controlled by those around you. This would be something like where you're going to church and your church tries to keep you from experiencing some other religion or learning about some other religions. The same thing would happen when you're in a country and they're trying to tell you that, what you see on TV about another country isn't true, or it's only a part of that. And all of this is about really trying to keep us from exploring the world, from getting out from where our comfort zone is and getting into a broader world than we were ever exposed to. Now, Moana, she continued to try to figure out what was going on. She found this neat little rock in the ocean when she was a baby. She held onto it. In fact, she threw it back, but the rock, the ocean, threw it back to her. And she had no idea what that rock was all about when she first found it. It was a baby, but her grandmother started to introduce her to, again, this whole concept of what's beyond the reef, and also started to tell her a little bit more about the history of her father and of her people, and how her people got to where they are, and how they came from another island, and how they settled in, and now they have stayed within their confines ever since something happened. And what was that? Actually, as we come to find out, the reason that Moana's father, the king, told Moana, who is basically an up-and-coming princess, that she couldn't go out beyond the coral reef was because he had ventured out there when he was a kid with one of his friends, and they got into a storm and a wave toppled their canoe, and his friend died. And as a result, he felt that anything beyond the coral reef now was something that was too dangerous for any of his people to experience, because he didn't want anybody else to have the traumatic experience he had or the potential for losing their lives. So he was doing it out of the good of his heart, but he was restricting his people. And now, if you recall in the movie, the island had produced everything that his people needed to survive. The lands were lush with vegetation and food, and the oceans were filled with fish. But things were starting to change, and the island was not providing everything that they needed. So there, Moana, who was now getting into her teens and recognizing that her people would not be supported by the island if things continued to go the way they were, felt even more inclined to be able to step out of her comfort zone to see what's beyond the coral reef, because if they all stayed just within the coral reef or on the island, they were likely to not survive because the food and the resources were going away. Now, this is something else that we experience in life oftentimes, where we may be in a town or we may be in a job where we feel like we've got to stay here, that the town is providing for us, the crops, if we're farmers, are providing for us, or if we're in a job, our job is giving us a paycheck and it's helping us to survive. But now the job may have some insecurities, or our crops may be having trouble. So we've got to start to look outside of what our comfort zone is and possibly get trained in an area that we would learn how to use the resources or find a job in another place. And we've got to experience that. We've got to go out beyond our coral reef. Now, what I identified in the recorded version of Moana was that Moana was a free spirit, and you've got to love free spirits, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that are afraid of being a free spirit. They're afraid of uncertainty, and that's okay, because uncertainty and certainty are two of the key 6 human needs that people have, and each person has their own priority as to how much certainty they need in their life or how much uncertainty they want in their life, because some people see uncertainty as thrilling, as exciting, and others see uncertainty as scary and something they want to stay away from. Well, Moana was a free spirit. She liked the idea of exploring, to check out new things. And ultimately, that's what helped her to get out beyond the coral reef. And while she was out there is where she actually met the demigod Maui, who eventually she finds is the one who stole the rock from Te Fiti, an island god, if you want to call it that. And because he stole that stone from Te Fiti, an island went from being lush and supple and providing everything that people would want to dark and scary and eventually a fiery, evil type of a soul in the island. And that was because essentially Maui stole the heart of the island. Now, when we are navigating outside of our normal area of comfort, we have to become our own rudder, or we have to change our direction based on the way the waves are going, based on the way things are happening in our life. Sometimes we're going to be tacking to our right, and we're going to see that there's big waves coming at us from the right. So we start to tack a little bit to the left so that we're kind of going with the flow. Hi, CK. Great to see you out there. As I have been trying to let everybody know, I am broadcasting from the parking lot of McDonald's in Yellowstone, West Yellowstone City, outside of Yellowstone Park, as I am on the road. So hopefully the camera's working and you can continue to hear me, but it's definitely a little bit more challenging to carry the storyline while everything's going on outside, and at the same time working from a camera and computer setup that I'm not that familiar with. It was the last minute putting this together. So again, in my journey here, I felt that this was still very important to be able to broadcast and do the live interactive version. So if you've seen Moana and you have any questions, please feel free to add things into the comments and we will talk about what's going on. Hey, Jay Bird, nice to see you. Cause and effect. You make your cause the effect for good. Thanks so much. I appreciate it, Jay Bird. And again, that's the reason I felt it was so important to try to, make sure we still do the show. Regardless, it's kind of like when I was in the military. The show must go on. Your mission is still there. So regardless of what kind of challenges you may run into, the key is to be able to overcome those challenges. And that same thing goes on in life. If we make a commitment and there is obstacles in our way of achieving that commitment, that doesn't give us an excuse to not do it. What it does is it opens up an opportunity to figure out some new way of accomplishing what we had already committed to doing. And if we can get used to that, if we get used to the fact that we can work in these uncertain environments and figure out ways to still accomplish what we had given our word to or what our mission is, that just builds again, kind of that toolkit that we talk about in One Square at a Time, where as you become more and more confident in your ability to deal with the uncertain, life opens up as the world really grows, because you're not afraid and you're not restricted to living in the environment that you have for the majority of your life, or within that community, or within that mindset, or within that belief system that was given to you as you were growing up. Let's see, service. If you need it, it would be issued. Sometimes you have to create what you need. Exactly. Yeah. Like when we were in the service, oftentimes they said, if Uncle Sam wanted you to have a wife or a spouse, he would have issued you one. That was kind of the saying that would go on whenever somebody would say, I can't do this because my family needs me. And that's absolutely true. Your family does need you. And you've got to balance those things in life. But one of the things that we do commit to when we move into the military is that we look at the mission first. And we have to really try to help to build our family to handle those uncertain times when we're out beyond our coral reef and doing what our country needs, and our family is at home in this uncertain feeling because their leader, or one of the two leaders, is no longer there. They're out and deployed. And the same thing happened again with Moana when she left her father and the protection of her tribe in order to go out and actually try and find a new source of resources to find out what is out beyond the coral reef so that she can help her tribe to survive. It's very similar to some of the things that we do when we're in the military, or we do other things that we have to in life in order to try to make life better for us and better for our families. So again, Moana is kind of like a free spirit, but also a rudder. She's guiding her life through the uncertain water. She didn't know how to sail at the time that she went out there. Actually, it was Maui who she came into contact with that actually began to teach her how to sail. And that's what we need to find in life oftentimes. We need to find that guide, that spirit, that helps us to navigate the waters that we're unfamiliar with. And in order to do that, we have to open up our minds. It's like I just as I mentioned early on in the show, I got a chance to meet Bob Seymour, who's on our Delight Cafe first thing or on Friday mornings. And this is the first time I got a chance to meet him in person. It was awesome. We got a chance to go and see the Washington or the Mount Rushmore and the Crazy Horse Museum. Again, things I had never seen. In fact, things that Bob, who had seen it many times, didn't experience, because we had a very special guest who was a park ranger essentially at the Black Hawk Memorial, the Crazy Horse Memorial, who gave us a tour of the memorial that he had never that we never have gotten if Bob didn't have his connection. So it's awesome how one connection can connect you to another, and that can help you to guide through life. And when you get those types of guides or mentors or advocates, take advantage of them. Not like take advantage like asking them to answer all your questions, but to take the time to learn from them, to listen to what they have to say. And as Bob and I both found out, we found many, many things about Crazy Horse that we knew nothing about before, without the ranger giving us his background in the history and so forth. And then life for us opened up. Our minds opened up as we got to hear more about what and how Crazy Horse life was lived, the legacy he left, and why they have established this Crazy Horse monument with a school to teach the indigenous children their history and to bring back the culture that has essentially been taken from them, which oftentimes I've said before, we really need to understand, who in our lives has imparted their information on us, and find out that it may not have been the true message of where we came from, our culture. Hang on one second. I got to get something to drink here because I'm parched and just happen to have one. Yes, Jaber, we must decide the fins, the rudder, or the motorboat. The journey is a choice, and your choice is your journey. Sorry about that. Absolutely. We need to navigate our life. Don't let somebody else navigate our life for us. Oftentimes, like in a sailboat, you can say you're at the mercy of the wind, but if you know how to tack, which is kind of like if you've ever watched sailboats go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, what they're doing is they're trying to move forward using a wind that's blowing in their face. We can do that. We can choose to do that. And if we have a motor that we can attach to our boat, it makes it even easier to be able to go against the wind. And sometimes where we want to go, where we need to go, is not the easiest path to take. We need to figure out how do we tack? How do we go back? How do we go forward in a wind that's blowing in our face? And Moana figured that out, and eventually they did get to Te Fiti, and they found this island, which was this scary monster kind of a spirit that was almost like a live volcano that would go after those that came near it and try to destroy them. And when Maui came, who was the one who originally stole the heart of Te Fiti, the Te Fiti was really trying to get back at Maui and basically destroy Maui. And it took a lot of effort on his part, and also with the help of Moana, to realize that the soul that was stolen from Te Fiti could be given back by giving the stone that was the heart back into Te Fiti, the island that was turned into the volcano. And we have those same types of things that happen in our lives. Oftentimes we have events in our lives where it feels like our heart is being ripped out. Or maybe we've done that to somebody in our life, either unintentionally, sometimes intentionally. We need to really look at those as opportunities to bring the heart back to ourselves, bring the heart back to others. We don't have to fight, even if our relationships sometimes break down. That doesn't mean that we have to be mean to one another. Oftentimes in life, our paths change. And what we thought was something that we would want forever changed. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a concept called forever for now. And the same thing goes for Moana, and what her father believed and what we experience in life, where I think I've said this in the past. I know I've said this in the past where, oftentimes we make a commitment forever. Say, for instance, being a member of a church, being married to somebody, having a job for life, committing our souls to those around us forever. And then something happens in life which changes our direction or is new information that makes us realize that what we thought we were committing to forever isn't a forever thing anymore. When you find out that as you go through life and you find out more information, you realize that you can move in different directions. For instance, when I was in college, I made a commitment to go through biology and pre-med to go on and become a doctor. And then I thought that was definitely what I wanted to do until I realized in looking at a nursing magazine that I didn't like blood and I didn't like needles. So my forever all of a sudden became what I call forever for now. It was forever what I was going to do. It was 2.5 years of my studying life in college. And then I realized that it was not the direction that was really going to be most congruent to me. And congruency is one of the key things that we need in life in order to not just survive, but to thrive. When we are congruent with our minds, our actions, and our words, we reduce the stress in our lives. And that oftentimes happens through traumatic experiences. For instance, oftentimes we have to separate from the person that we may have loved for 10 years, 20 years, 1 year, because our lives are moving in different directions. Our winds and our sails is taking us in one direction. Their wind and their sail is taking them in another. Or oftentimes people want to say, yeah, exactly, forever for now. Awesome, Jay Bird. I agree with that. That is a awesome idea for a t-shirt. And it's an awesome idea for us in life. And when we do that, recognize that just because we're separating, oftentimes it is very traumatic. And in this world, there's finances and there's children and there's adults and parents and your congregation or whomever you're looking at the potential for stepping away from for one reason or another. We don't want to do it lightly, but at the same time, we don't want to be held in a relationship, in a belief system, in a job that isn't serving us the way that it may have served us at the beginning. So take those opportunities and recognize that we do oftentimes go beyond the coral reef. We go against the wind because where we need to be is beyond, and not just following life as a lemming follows a leader or the Pied Piper. Uh, we have a lot of that stuff going on today in today's world with what we're hearing in politics, what we're hearing from doctors, what we're hearing on the media as being what's best for us, without necessarily recognizing that sometimes we need to go against the grain, against the wind, in order to really do what is best for us. And that's what Moana did as well. And eventually what you find out is that when you do get beyond and you do see that there are worlds outside of the ones that we thought were ours forever, we find that there's maybe even something better or something richer or something that can provide better for our families, our lives. Even if our relationships are separate, that doesn't mean that we can't still support one another and support our children if we have them, our grandchildren, our friends that may still be part of a congregation that we're no longer a part of. We may join a different tribe because one tribe is actually providing more of what we need in terms of our life and our where we're going as we get more mature, as we learn more. We need to be able to explore and go and recognize that those things that are out there may actually be better for our lives and better for those around us, although the time that we're doing that separation may be very traumatic for everybody. But after a while, we realize that the direction that we're taking, that new direction in life, is actually better for us and better for them and better for our children and better for our friends. But it did take effort, and it did mean that we had to go into that uncomfort zone, that uncertainty, in order to really be able to find that love and connection that we need for that next stage of our life, for that next growth in our life, for that next legacy, step in our legacy that we're going to have in our life. And Moana had that same thing happening as she overcame her challenges in getting along with Maui, and Maui not looking at Moana as a travel partner that he wanted to have. And over the course of time being on the boat together and having the ocean's help of pushing them back together when either one tried to separate, ended up forming a trusting relationship that benefited both Moana and Maui and Moana's people, for that matter, to be able to live in a world that was beyond their coral reef, beyond their comfort zone. And it was a partnership that was not planned, but one that ended up being the best for both Moana and Maui, and eventually Te Fiti and Moana's tribe. So, and in different times of our life, we need to look at some of the things and some of the lyrics. If you listen to the lyrics of the songs in Moana, you're going to find many, many messages. And some of those that I found in there that I thought were just amazing is that Moana says, "I wish I could be the perfect daughter." And how often is it, as a daughter or a son or a husband or a wife or a friend, that we want to be that perfect son or daughter or father or mother? And yet, you know what? We all make mistakes. And what is perfection? Perfection is oftentimes this image that we have in our minds that is not even achievable, because we've created so many things that are required to be considered perfect, when maybe perfection is just being there. And as I've said to many of my friends, I'm really not good at staying connected when I am separated physically from them. But when I am with them, either on the phone or we get back together physically in the same area, I'm focused. I am there. I am there for them. So sometimes people think that a perfect friend is one that is always there for you all the time. No, a great friend is somebody who is there for you when you need them, but don't always rely on them, because at that point in time, you're actually taking this perfection of a relationship and breaking it down into something that may be more of a codependent thing. So remember, being a perfect anything is probably going to be very challenging. Being the best that you can be is something that you have control over all the time. And you do need to oftentimes fight the headwinds in order to get in the direction that you were trying to go with your relationship with your friends, and oftentimes encouraging them to break through the headwinds and break through the waves to be able to get there. Another line from the song is, if the wind is in my sail on the sea, stays behind me, one day I'll know. If I go there, just no telling how far I will go. When we do have those tailwinds in life, when they're pushing us forward, take advantage of those opportunities. See where they're going to take us. Oftentimes, it may not be the direction that we think is the best for us, but as we open up our mind, our eyes, and we see these new things in life, what was scary to begin with becomes an opportunity that we see to be able to live our life in a way that we did not expect we would ever be able to do that. So sometimes, do go with the wind. I'm not saying you don't always have to buck the direction of those around you, but do take those opportunities to explore and find out which ones are going to be of best benefit to you. And then if they're not, change back, make a left turn, make another left turn. Guess what? If you make 2 left turns, you're going to end up going back the direction you came. Now reset yourself and go forward again. Perfection is perfectly flawed. This is Jaybird saying this, different is a shining light when the way we may not be well lit. Right. Sometimes you want to talk perfection and perfect things. Sometimes we're in darkness and we see a light ahead of us and we're like, oh, that's perfect. There's finally a light. And then we find out that light is the headlight of a train and we're standing on the railroad tracks. It was perfect for a second until we figured out what it was. And then we realized this perfection is not what we need. And we need to move in either left or right in order to get out of the way. So sometimes that guiding light is not necessarily the light that we should be following until we realize what the source is. So check those things out. I think that's absolutely awesome, Jaybird. I appreciate that. There's other things that we have in life. And I think talking about Moana's grandmother, Grandma Tala, she was a tremendous storyteller. And oftentimes in life, it's the stories in life that really teach us. It's not necessarily the schooling. It's not even sometimes the experiences that we have, but it's the stories that we hear from those around us. It's the stories that we get to an opportunity to explore in our mind as we're reading them from a book or watching them in a movie. That's why I love watching movies like Moana, like watching the Avengers, like watching Harry Potter. There's messages in those stories that we can draw upon and help us to guide us through challenging challenges of life. So Grandma Tala was a great storyteller. She was the one who opened up Moana's eyes to what was beyond, and also opened up Moana's eyes to the fact that what her father had been telling her wasn't the truth, or wasn't the whole truth, when he was trying to protect his people by keeping them from going beyond the coral reef. It was Grandma Tala who really said, hey, did you know this is what your father really experienced, and now you understand why he's doing the things that he did. So listen to those storytellers that often comes through our lives. An interesting storyteller that I ran into, as I mentioned, is Bob Seymour. Spending an entire day with Bob was absolutely phenomenal. Bob is a magical storyteller. And it's through the experiences of his life or those lives around him that we learn so much. Bob is very much guided by the wind in his sail, and oftentimes the wind changes. And to listen to Bob, who rides a motorcycle everywhere and says, "Oh, hey, I just got a call from this person. I don't even know who this person is. They know a friend of mine, and they're only 600 miles away. So I'm going to just jump on my scooter and go see him for dinner tonight." And I'm like, holy crap, 600 miles to meet somebody that you may not have ever met before. Why? And Bob is like, I don't know why. I just feel that it's the place that I need to be. And that is what we need to also feel in our lives. Remember, logic and emotion and where they reside in the body is not necessarily all in the head or all in the heart. There's this body mind concept where your collective intelligence of yourself is distributed throughout your body, with your solar plexus being the second largest congregation of nerves in your body. And yet when we get these gut feelings, oftentimes we try to logically talk them away. And we may say that logically going beyond the coral reef is dangerous, but my gut is telling me the answer is out there. Follow your gut. Oftentimes your gut is really the true essence of what you should be following, as opposed to the learned essence that we may have from what others have told us and what we may have experienced. Realize that, mind over matter or mind over my gut feel may not be the best choice. And our emotions are definitely not all in our head. Our emotions are throughout our body. Remember, you feel tingling in your fingers. You feel the hair rising on your arms or your back of your neck. Those are all sensations that are beyond our logic, and yet they help to guide our lives. So don't miss those opportunities. Jaybird, if the mind don't mind, it don't matter. Right. What is in our minds oftentimes doesn't matter. Sometimes it's what is in our heart, what is in our gut that is really the thing that matters the most. And we need to be able to have the confidence in ourselves, and sometimes to ask another person to come along on our journey to help us to be able to overcome. If it wasn't for Samwise, would Frodo have ever accomplished his mission? No. So sometimes it's best to have somebody with you, somebody that can help you to stay on the right track or maintain your strength when you feel that you may no longer have enough to complete the mission. Samwise was a great friend. Samwise couldn't do what Frodo was tasked to do, but like Samwise said, I can carry you to where you need to be or where you have to go. So take those opportunities. The same thing happened with Moana and Maui. They were together a force to reckon with, that if they were either one of them separate, they wouldn't have accomplished the mission of actually bringing the heart back to Te Fiti and allowing Te Fiti to go from that evil, scary, fire-breathing volcano back into the lush, green, beautiful, sleeping island. That's what friends are there for. That's what family is there for. Those that really are concerned about you and will oftentimes allow you to experience some of the pain in life. We have to. If we don't experience, I won't call them failures, but they didn't give us the intended results. If we don't experience those things in life, then how are we really going to learn? Brandon, is that you out there?
Yes.
Ah, there he is.
I apologize. It took forever. And then, like, in my car, my phone wouldn't charge. So it's like 2% battery, and I couldn't even get on. I'm like, come on, I'm trying. Brett's alone. It made me feel like the island was taking over, and I was the one that was like, I was Moana. And it was just like, I don't know what you said. Have you given the tool yet or anything? Because that was what I always like to learn from you.
Well, we talked about the rudder being the rudder and being able to guide your life and to be able to, via the rudder, be able to tack back and forth, even when we're trying to move forward and the wind is in front of us blowing in our face. The rudder can help to guide us back and forth and still make progress in a direction. It may not be the most efficient way, it may not be the way that we intended, but we're still moving in that direction, even against the headwinds of life oftentimes.
Oh, I love it. I think that's funny because it's a combination of things there, because that's what she also does with her father.
Yes.
Like, her father went against what they were. They were fishermen. They were a fishing tribe. They would go out and do these things, and then she steered the rudder at a different, like, Bradley in the house. You know it. But, like, it's one of those things, excuse me, where I tried to get here as fast as I can. I'm choking now. Look at this. But, like, she was disobeying her father when she did that. But the thing I liked about this movie was Grandma. And Grandma did you touch on Grandma already?
We were just really starting to get more into Grandma and how she was a great storyteller, how her storytelling was much like Bob Seymour.
Oh, yes, that's a great analogy. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, well, heck, having spent the whole day Sunday with Bob, it was just natural to bring that out, because Bob was nothing but one story after another story after another story, and teaching you how life can be, how to navigate life, how to deal with challenges of life through the stories that he's experienced.
Oh my gosh. Like, Bob's stories connect you or captivate you, but Grandma's stories were just, it was the way that she connected with her granddaughter was how I felt with my grandma. Like, I have a very close connection with my grandma. I love her to death, and she just uplifts like she did in the movie. And for Grandma from Moana, I honestly like that. She is my favorite character because easily The Rock, easily Toku or Tuku, I forget the bird's name. Like Grandma in the wings. Watch out, Uncle Bob. It's an adventure waiting to play out. Jaybird, I love it. But, like, for real, it's funny how they do that. Like, Disney is very good at getting the people to connect with that. They're very good at getting people to understand, like, hey, this is someone you're going to connect with, and it's not usually the main actor or actress. They're very good at that too. But without Grandma, she wouldn't have guided her to go be Moana. She didn't guide her to go find the jewel of what is it?
Te Fiti.
Te Fiti. Well, I kept wanting to say Yosemite because you're near Yosemite, and I'm like, did you find Yosemite? But no. So what was your tool?
So that was the tool, the rudder.
Oh, the rudder. Oh, I like where you're at with that. That was the tool. Okay. So do I give one since we're doing a live? I don't remember what I said on the recording.
Absolutely.
So, like, I would honestly, because I watched the movie again knowing it was going to be live. I didn't get through it all the way. I just had other things going on, but I had it on the background as something to listen to. And the tool that came to my mind was, and I could not think of the name of it, but because it's not a telescope, but it is a telescope. It's where they're looking ahead, they're looking through. Moana saw future. She saw there needed to be more. And the only way to do that is when you have to lean into the telescope and look forwards, you're looking to where you're going, and it can't distract you from everything else. It's like got blinders on, and you can't look in front of you. You can't look to the side of you. You have to look straight ahead. And without Grandma and Moana, you would not have been able, she wouldn't have done that. And what is a periscope? A periscope.
Oh, was it a periscope? Kind of like looking through a periscope.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the tool I took as leadership, because when you're looking through a periscope, you don't see everything else around you. You see straight ahead at what you're looking for and the destination you're going for. Where Moana saw that there was more, and every time she kept going for that little bit more, she was looking through her periscope. She found the boats. Her grandma led her to other areas. She climbed the mountain and did the rock. Everything she was supposed to do, she did. And she saw the support of the people she needed around her. And tunnel vision, straight through. She was looking to what needed to be there. And then even when she got to Maui, and he's all like, and doing his thing, because you got to admit, it's hilarious. He is blocking her from what she sees is the destiny, and she literally is willing to go around him. And I thought that was an extremely well done professionalism. And I say that because how many of us don't see that tunnel vision that others have, and we just blow it off? And she saw it, and we got to witness it as a cartoon, of course. But that's what we're supposed to do, is have that tunnel vision, that periscope, and focus on our destination and get there. Especially, go ahead.
Absolutely, and I'm hoping that my computer has enough power to last through this here. But there was in one of the quotes that comes through, and based on what you were just saying, is when Moana says, "I am Moana of Mototui," or
Matatui.
Matatui. You will board my boat, sail across the sea, and restore the heart of Te Fiti. That's when she was basically telling Maui, get your ass on my boat. We're going. I don't give a crap what you're thinking. We're making this happen. And those are the types of leaders oftentimes that we need in our life. One that's going to say, not let us jump off the boat too soon before we get to the destination. Even though that journey may be tough, it's still a journey we need to take, and the destination is worth it. And those are things that we have to be very prepared for and open to in our lives.
Yes. Love it. Like 100%. You did great, buddy. And I know you're on the road. I'm sorry, I got stuck. I got thrown up on by a baby and then had to drive home to change really quick so I could be on air. And then I got stuck in traffic. I'm sorry, I got pooped on by a baby.
Well, think about that. How often do we get pooped on in life? And we have to clean ourselves up. In fact, we have to live with it for a little bit. Then we have to clean ourselves up, and then we can move on and recognize, the next time I hold a baby in my arms, maybe I need to do it a little bit differently. Maybe I need to do that thing in life a little bit differently. How about the babies in Shrek? Talk about having that type of experience. But then it's like, okay, I got to hold them out here. I've got to keep, my, an arm's length away from them in order to be able to really do the most I can with them, for them, and for me.
Yes.
And sometimes we need to do that with friends in our life. We need to hold them an arm's length away. Not that they're trying to do anything that is intentionally trying to hurt us, but sometimes they hold us back.
Yes.
And we need to then hold them at an arm's length and appreciate them for who they are and what they're trying to do, but also recognize that we need to do things that are going to be best for us as well.
Do you see that the pigeon dodgeball? I don't know what that means, but I love it. Jaybird has it right here. He says, focus to get round the roundabouts that life gives us for growth, knowledge, and instruction. And honestly, that's a very nice way of saying that. That's a great way of saying that, because you have to be able to survive the roundabouts. And life is going to throw them at you. You don't always get a red light, green light. You sometimes get stuck with
a black light or no light.
Yes, a black light or no light. I was going to say a roundabout, like Jaybird said, because it's not a full stop sign, and you still got to be respectful because everybody's still moving, but you got to merge in. So realize that the guy behind you is about to rob you, Brett.
Yeah.
My favorite would have been like there was someone there, but imagine if he knocked on the window. Oh my God, the scream would have made my day. I would have been like, somebody take that, turn that into a GIF, make it and send it to me right away, please and thank you. So Brett, I think that like between the rudder and the
periscope.
I keep saying telescope. I knew that's what I was saying wrong. But a periscope, like no matter which tool you choose this to be from the movie, make sure you're headed on the right path because they both are meant to guide you, whether it's the focus or whether it's knowing which way your direction is headed.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like you were saying, with a periscope, you can have 360 view, but you only get this much of it at a time as you're turning around. And you don't know what's on either side of you unless you make that turn. And it's just the same as like with a rudder. You've got to go left. You've got to go right in order to be able to really continue to move down that path. You may have a laser focus on where you need to go, but how you get there can be very, very much different than you envisioned.
Correct. 100% correct. So Brett, you did this one pretty much all on your own. Like I came home, turned the computer on. I'm like, please work, please turn on. And it did. And I'm like, all right, StreamYard is the only thing I need to open. And then the internet was going slow. I'm like, God, I'm dying over here. Like, I connected you. I plugged the phone and turned the hotspot on just so I could be able to get on here and make sure I did get something with you. So
perfect. Well, I'm glad you're able to join. I do want to bring up what Brian was saying. Marines are omnidirectional. It's something that we learned in the military. It's called situational awareness. It's called watching your back, checking your six, whatever it is. It's that opportunity to recognize that what life has to bring and what's ahead of us may not be the thing that we need to focus on most. Sometimes, it's those things around us that we need that bring in the information or the direction that we need to go.
100%. Periscope, telescope, the journey is not always as narrow view. Be open to other views. And last comment of the day, you ready for this one? It's going to be by Brian Tracy, finally admitting he's going to be a Browns fan. Unleash the dogs of war. So I thank you, Brian Tracy. Go Browns. I'm glad you're finally coming around, buddy.
And want to just say thank you, Jaybird, CK, Brian, for participating. Looking forward to more people joining in as we continue to move forward with these. We'll pick out a new movie for next week and drop it. I still may be on the road, but this time I may be in Carson City, Nevada. Who knows? But it's one of those things where when you have an opportunity to explore.
I agree. And remember, that's just roof. I love it. I love when my dog jokes get to be used because I have so many. All right, guys, have a great one. I'll see you guys in the morning. Brett, I hope to see you in the morning, but if I don't, please know you are the sexiest boomer I know.
Thank you so much. All right, have a great one. Glad you were able to join, Brandon, and everybody out in the audience that's joined. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys. Have a great one. Thank you. Oops, I didn't have the button ready. Sorry. So try that again. Hold on. Say it again, Brett.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate you being out there. We'll see you next time.